Why does everyone hate Russia? Donald Trump apparently asked recently, as though puzzled by history's judgment. The answer lies not in nostalgia, nor for wartime alliances, nor in Kremlin myths of Soviet heroism, but in the cold, brutal reality of unchecked laws broken, of justice deferred, and I think the case of Dmitry Kurashov, a name that will not feature on medals or in parades, but one that will stand out as a symbol of the moral abyss into which Russia's war machine has fallen. In January 2024, on the frozen Zaporizhia front, the 41-year-old Ukrainian soldier Vitaly Hodnyuk, known to his comrades as Penguin, laid down his weapon and surrendered. He raised his hands, knelt in the mud, and was shot, allegedly by Kurashov, a former convict recruited from a penal colony to fight in a war he barely understood. Witnesses say that he was told to take no prisoners, very Lawrence of Arabia. One witness described hearing Kurashov say, "Come on, come out, surrender," only to then fire his rifle into Hodnyuk's unarmed body. The case is historic. It's the first trial inside Ukraine for a battlefield execution of a prisoner of war in this war, with the accused physically present in court. Kurashov, nicknamed Stalker, has pleaded guilty. He's recanted, then he claimed that someone else, a dead medic, was responsible. The court has heard from 3 of his fellow Russian soldiers, all ex-convicts, who have offered damning and detailed testimony. One of them saw Kurashov take Hodnyuk's watch from his body. If found guilty, Kurashov faces life in a Ukrainian prisoner, not as a prisoner of war, but as a war criminal. And what has the Kremlin said? Nothing. Not a word of rebuke, not a gesture of sorrow, not a whisper of accountability. Russia is a signatory to the Geneva Conventions, and its war in Ukraine has been defined by the defiance of those very principles: mass abductions, torture chambers, the shelling of maternity wards and power stations, the deportation of children, and now the executions of prisoners who surrender. The UN has documented dozens of these killings in the past year alone. This is not the work of rogue individuals. Kurashov's unit, Storm 5, was composed of convicts trained for 3 weeks and sent to die as expendable foot soldiers. Their commanders allegedly issued direct orders not to take prisoners. This is not aberration, this is policy. And so we come to Trump's question: why does everyone hate Russia? The world doesn't hate Russia. Not her culture, nor her people. It doesn't hate Tolstoy or Tchaikovsky. It doesn't hate the Russian dead of World War II who died beside millions of Ukrainians, Poles, and others resisting fascism. What the world abhors is the Kremlin's betrayal of those very values it claims to defend. It abhors the state-sponsored cruelty, the cult of aggression, the degradation of soldiers into state-sponsored murderers. And yet Trump laments the sanctions, the delays, the dreams of deals. He asks why Russia is hated and then sides with impunity over justice, fog over facts. Meanwhile, in a plain courtroom in Zaporizhia, Ukraine is doing something extraordinary. It is upholding the law. It is trying, even in the middle of a war, to prove that justice matters, that there are principles, that surrender should not mean execution, that a man, even if recruited from prison and taught to kill, is still accountable. The trial of Kurashov is not vengeance, it is civilization pushing back against barbarism. And for those still asking why Russia is treated with suspicion, with anger, and yes, with contempt, this is your answer. Because one side is trying to bury its dead with dignity, and the other is throwing grenades into dugouts and calling it victory. The verdict should be heard, not just in the courtroom, but in history. And with the guilty verdict, and with the guilty plea, that verdict is now inevitable.